games only work when everyone's playing by the same rules, right? Otherwise, eventually someone gets pissed off and flips the board over, right? So we have capitalism, but we have a fiat currency that is greatly depreciating in value, right? There's a lot of things that are not real, but everyone is pretending that it is real, right? We have nations that are all trading, right, in free trade, but there are some nations that do not have to adhere to human rights, which means that on a national level, they're not playing by the same rules, right? They can undersell all the products, exploiting their own people in order to shed very cheap products onto the world, right? Sound familiar? Now, greater nations, or nations with greater wealth at least, are able to exploit cheaper nations in order to extract their resources, making deals with their people and all this other fun. This has been going on for quite some time, and then the elites control the legal system and all this other fun. You can pay lawyers, so justice isn't equal either. So, how many more things need to get stacked onto the backs of people before they flip the board over? That's basically where we're at now in society. We're just kind of waiting to see how much longer things will go before the boards get flipped, right? And they're trying to push people and push people into that, and at the same time creating a population that is a lot more docile, right? A population that rewards fear and anxiety, right? They reward panic and virtue signaling, which is not a healthy dynamic by any stretch of the imagination, right? So there are so many forces coalescing on the population right now. And it's like, yo, I'm a hard-working dude. I've worked my whole adult life, right? I have a 9-year-old son. It costs $130 for me to fill up my gas tank, right? Now, it costs about twice as much for groceries and just all around day-to-day expenses and living life, right? And now I've been pretty fed up with the government and overall tyranny and all this other fun for quite some time. I'm not a big fan of the mass wars and, the funding of terrorist groups and the overthrowing of democratically elected leaders to set up puppet dictator regimes. Like that's the type of stuff that just kind of twists my gut, right? I don't really care for the food agencies and the pharmaceutical companies poisoning the population and then getting wealthy off of trying to sell them cures that don't really cure them, just kind of keep them alive, right? And then all the arbitrary rules and laws and fines and taxes and all of the things that my countrymen and all of my fellow brothers and sisters on this beautiful globe are subjected to, right? And then at the end of the day, the properties are owned by a very small number. The majority of people are renting and living in cubicles in cities, right? I don't care for any of that, right? But it's getting exponentially worse, and it's becoming more and more difficult for regular people like myself to just live life. It's got me to the point that I've been bitching on the internet for about a year now, right? And so at a certain point, what's going to give are the people's like spirits just going to break and just succumb to this one world global tyranny of welfare states, right? Where there's certain people that are exploited for cheap labor, and then everything else becomes automated, and we all live inside of a video game dumbed down by drugs and food, and we just live unhealthily in some fantasy world, right? As many people currently choose to do, right? Because people live within their video games and their social media and their movies and shows and all that, as opposed to living in reality with people around them, right? We surrender our natural power as conscious beings to this collective, and we are all the more miserable and depressed and just anxious and angry because of it, right? We surrender our natural, innate creator power to this thing that we despise. And then in turn, we have to despise ourselves, right? Because we contribute and we hold up this system that is oppressing us continually, right? And that's one of the things that like the black activists have right, is that there is an oppressive system that shadows us all. And right, we do make decisions and we can better our own lives and we can rise above to a certain extent, but we are still playing by this system that has rules that are uneven, right? They're arbitrary. They are designed to put the boot down on you, right? For example, the fiat currency that gets printed to infinity while still taxing your population quite heavily, right? So on one hand, you are simply using taxes as a sanction against your own people, right? In order to make sure that they step in line, right? And you enforce this militarily, right? If you do not pay your taxes, people with guns will come and put you in a cage or they will shoot you. And that is a fact of living in Western civilization, right? Some might say that that is the price we pay, but it's not the price that we've always paid. In fact, it's actually quite new, but what are we going to do? So, how much longer are we going to sit right back and play the game that we know we're getting screwed at and keep on rolling our dice and moving our mice? I suppose one day enough will be enough, and hopefully it's not too late. But we got more in common with each other than those that want us to fight. Best of luck.